Alright, Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Now, most of what I have to say about this movie deals with the plot, and I wouldn't consider it spoilerish, but some people might. I don't really think there is anything to spoil in this movie, but some people might not want to hear about the plot. So I'll do my generic thoughts first, and then I'll get into the plot. So my generic thoughts are, imagine if you go through an extended period of time, and during that time, the only meal you ever get to have for lunch is a peanut butter and jelly prepared by a 4-year-old. And the pieces are all there. There's bread, there's peanut butter, there's jelly. But it's a horrible mess. The bread is ripped and torn through. The peanut butter isn't spread evenly. There's way too much jelly spilling over the sides, getting the bread all soggy. The kid probably sneezed in it. He definitely licked the knife between the peanut butter and the jelly. It's there, but it's not very good. And then imagine that one day, for lunch, you get to eat a peanut butter and jelly made by a 6-year-old. Still not very good, but probably a lot better than what you got from the 4-year-old. If the old G.I. Joe movies with Channing Tatum and The Rock are the peanut butter and jelly made by the 4-year-old, this one is the peanut butter and jelly made by the 6-year-old. It's better, and the pieces are put together better, but I'd still rather eat something else. So I spent a lot of time thinking about how I was going to say that, and it probably doesn't seem like that at all because it's really, really stupid. But those are my basic thoughts on Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. So if you don't want to know anything about the plot, I would bail out now. Otherwise, let's get into what some people might call spoilers. So this film is a compilation of contradictions and characters doing things that don't make any sense. And some of them are bigger deals than others, but it's just all this movie is. So I'm going to try as best as I can to go through the events that happen in this movie and why they don't make sense. And starting off, and this is not a big deal, but it just started me off on a sour note. We see Snake Eyes as a little kid, which, by the way, it says 20 years ago, and then later on it says present day. Can we just stop doing that in movies? Just say the date that the movie is supposed to take place. Because if I go back and watch a movie from the 70s and present day pops up on screen, that's gonna, in my head, be like, okay, so this definitely isn't present day, because that's not what present day looks like. When is this supposed to be? When did this movie come out? And then I have to think about that rather than the movie. Just put the year on there. It's not that complicated. So, 20 years ago, we see little bitty Snake Eyes and his dad in the woods. And his dad says something about them going to a cabin. And the kid's like, is there a safe there? The dad's like, no, why? The kid's like, you said something about a safe house. And the dad's like, oh, that's just another word for cabin. And then they get to the cabin, and it's just a house in the woods. And I realized that cabin is one of those words that some people use to refer to geography more than structure of the building. But if you're going to go out of your way to put other words, you know, he doesn't want his son to understand what he's talking about with the safe house, so he lies and says, oh, it's another word for a cabin. It's just a house. It's just a house in the woods. If you're going to make that big of a deal about it being a cabin and something distinct from a house, make it an actual cabin. It doesn't need to be a house for the plot to work. It could have been a cabin, but it wasn't a cabin. Not important at all. It just starts this movie off on things that don't make any sense. So then his dad is attacked by people, and we get the first of many, many scenes where bad guys, I don't even think it's always bad guys, but mostly bad guys have guns but don't shoot guns. So they're there, they're attacking the dad. The dad has told his kid, had little Snake Eyes to hide. Of course, little Snake Eyes doesn't do that, because why would a kid listen to directions? So the kid runs out and, like, attacks the bad guys, like, knocks into them or whatever, and then runs away. And none of them do anything to them. None of them shoot him. None of them... He just gets away. And then, eventually, later on, they shoot the dad and set the house on fire. But you're in a situation, you've got a gun, you're attacked by someone. Yeah, they're a kid, but you're a horrible person, you don't care. And you don't shoot them. So then we cut to present day, 20 years later. And we see Snake Eyes. Basically, it's the scene introducing Wolverine in the first X-Men movie. He's in this cage match, and he's fighting a guy. Now, all the fight scenes in this movie are like if you took a camera and you took a little 6-year-old and then you took a bunch of teenagers and you brought all the teenagers over and you said, hey, I'll give you each $20 if you pretend to let my 6-year-old beat you up. And so they all just stand around and the 6-year-old just kind of waves his arms around and all the teenagers are just like, ah, and fall down. You don't see anything in these fights. There's swords whipping about. There's people's arms flailing around. Occasionally you'll see a sword sticking into a guy. But you can't follow what's happening. So we get this first cage match. And this is already the second point in the movie that Snake Eyes, or the third point that Snake Eyes should absolutely be dead. He should be dead when he runs in and attacks the people. Then it seems like he goes into the house when it's on fire. So there's the second time right there. But then, in this fight scene, this guy basically picks him up. His feet still are contacting the floor, but he basically picks him up and throws him head first into this concrete block. This huge concrete block. And he just shakes it off and gets up. And then continues fighting the guy. And I think this scene is supposed to show that he's a clever fighter and doesn't have good technique, but he can figure out his way out. So he ends up choking this guy with a chain. And then I don't even remember how he defeats him, but eventually he defeats him. But like, you just got thrown into solid concrete. You're done. You're absolutely done. And so at that point, I'm just like, oh, this guy can't be hurt, right? And that's a common criticism of movies, is that the characters are invincible, and so there's no stakes. But this isn't supposed to be a superhero movie. So I would think normally, for a movie like this, oh, I'm concerned that this character might get hurt. But if he can be thrown head first into a huge block of concrete and then just get up and keep fighting, I'm like, alright, he's not going to have any problems with anything else later in the movie. And guess what? He doesn't. So, that scene is over. And then this is, I think it's in Los Angeles. The next scene is in Los Angeles. So I assume this is close. Could be forgetting the order, but it's not clearly in Japan, but this Japanese guy approaches him, and he's like, I've been tracking you for a long time. I could use a guy like you. You got great skills. And Snake Eyes is like, I don't work for nobody. I ain't interested. And the guy's like, well, I can find the guy who killed your dad, who I know is still at large because we broke into your hotel room and found this newspaper clipping that you still keep with you. And all you do is you do these fight clubs and then you move on from town to town. But I'm going to give you a job. And so the Snake Eyes is like, okay, I'll work for you if you can find the guy that killed my dad. And then he's like, great, I'll find a spot for you at the docks. And then the next scene is Snake Eyes working for the Yakuza at docks in Los Angeles, cutting out fish guts and replacing them with firearms. Now, later on, we figure out why he's really there. But watching the movie, seeing him go from, I need a guy like you, I've been tracking you for a while, please come work for me, in this nasty, dirty assembly line full of other people with no discernible skills. So it's kind of weird, kind of jarring. So then we get to this scene, and the character who will eventually become Storm Shadow is also there, he's also working with them, and then it gets discovered that, oh no, he's a spy for other people. So somebody, and I don't know if it's the same person that recruited Snake Eyes or if it's someone else, that's on me, I couldn't tell if it was the same person or not, but somebody is like, you're a spy, so I'm going to shoot you, and then he loads up the gun and then he hands it to Snake Eyes. the new guy. I guess for him to prove his loyalty, but it's kind of weird. And Snake Eyes is like, nah. And then he fires the gun at nothing. And then, for the rest of this scene, with dozens of Yakuza in a facility where they are putting firearms into fish, so there are plenty of firearms around, nobody shoots a gun the rest of the scene. So there's a lot of hand-to-hand combat. There's some swords because there's so many swords in this movie. Nobody fires a gun. At one point, the one group of a dozen or so Yakuza people either run away or are incapacitated. And then another group of a dozen or so Yakuza people come in. And the fight continues with no shots being fired by anyone. Just swords. And the only time Storm Shadow doesn't get hurt at all, and the only time Snake Eyes gets hurt is that he gets stabbed a little bit when he's in a truck. He gets stabbed through the truck, and at that point the fight is already over anyway. So at no point do you think that either of these characters are in trouble, because we already know that they can't be hurt. But also, they say later that there were 50 of them, and that could just be a thing, that there were 50 guys, that someone says that, but it seems pretty close to 50 when you're watching it. And they just beat them. We don't see how. We can't tell what's happening in these fight scenes. It's just a 6-year-old kid waving his arms and a bunch of teenagers falling down. That's what the fight scenes are in this movie. So we're supposed to expect that they're just really good fighters. Again, there's something that we learn later on that kind of changes that, but not really. So eventually, I think Snake Eyes gets knocked out by something. I can't remember. But eventually he wakes up on Storm Shadow's plane, and he's like, I'm bringing you to my clan in Japan, and it's going to be awesome. So they get to this place in Japan, and Blind Master is there, Hard Master is there. I only know who those are from the old G.I. Joe movies. But basically, there's Storm Shadow and Grandma. And Grandma is the leader of the clan, and Storm Shadow is like, I'm next in line to run this clan. And the bad guy that they've been fighting is his cousin, who is disgraced and fallen from the family. And there's also the head of security, who I don't think is Jinx. In my head, I just kept saying, is this person going to become Jinx? I don't know anything about Jinx. I just remember seeing her with Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe Retaliation, so I know that's a character. And they don't ever say that she becomes Jinx. So it's something that might happen, but hasn't happened. So anyway, I'm just going to call her not Jinx, because I don't remember what her name is. So the grandma is like, why did you bring in an outsider? This is dangerous. And Jinx, not Jinx, who is the head of security, is like, why did you bring in an outsider? This is very dangerous. And everyone else is like, why did you bring in an outsider? This is very... So everyone's against Snake Eyes. But Storm Shadow is like, he saved my life. I trust him. I owe him a chance to prove his worth. So they're like, we're going to put you through 3 trials, and if you can pass all those trials, you're in the family. And if you fail, you'll die. Good luck, right? So I don't remember exactly what order trials and visits go in. But at some point, Snake Eyes is leaving the compound at night, and it turns out that he's still working for the evil cousin dude with the Yakuza. And it was his plan to have him not actually shoot Snake Eyes and let them escape so that Snake Eyes can get in with this clan, because evil cousin guy wants Snake Eyes to steal a magic jewel for him. Which, by the way, magic is in this universe. I don't know if magic is normally in the G.I. Joe universe. I don't remember it being in the old movies at all, so that kind of took me by surprise. And it's not just the jewels, there's magic snakes, and there's other magic things that happen. So magic is just in this universe. So Snake Eyes is pretending to be a friend to Storm Shadow while actually working for his evil cousin to steal this sun jewel so that the evil cousin can take down the clan. That's where we spend most of the movie. And he kind of goes back and forth between trials. Trial number 1, he's given a bowl of water, and Hardmaster has a bowl of water. And Hardmaster says, you have to take my bowl of water without spilling water from your bowl of water. And you get 4 tries. Go. And the first 3 tries, he just tries to do it. He tries to do it by fighting, and he keeps getting knocked down and spilling water. And then the 4th try, he's finally like, oh, please accept this trade. And then the guy just trades him because he asked nicely. I'm like, okay, first try, set the bowl down. Because he never says you have to be holding the bowl. So set the bowl down. Then go and not take his bowl away. Okay? If they change the rules, then that shouldn't count against you, right? But then, okay, they say you can't set the bowl down. You have to hold the bowl, right? Okay? Second idea, drink the water. That's not spilling it. They don't say you can't do that. And if that doesn't work, take your Roby robes that you're working with and put them in the bowl and absorb the water. 3 ideas that are all, because they keep telling him, they're like, you know, you have to let go of your ego. That's a big, big hypocritical message of this movie. Let go of your ego, you know. Embrace your weaknesses, blah, 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 blah. So you'd think he would try some different things. And those are the things that I came up with in real time watching this scene. It's not like I thought about this for hours and days afterwards. Literally in the scene, I'm like, set the bowl down. Drink the water. Absorb the water up. The rule was, don't spill your water. So I'm like, outthink the riddle. Beat the riddle. It's not about the physical challenge, it's beating the riddle. Well, I was wrong. I'm the idiot. He just had to ask nicely to trade, and then Hardmaster traded with him. I was expecting Hardmaster to be like, kapoof, no. And then he would have lost, but that would have made sense. And nothing in this movie makes sense. So we get a trial, we get him going back to meet with blah, blah, blah. Then we get to the second trial. And the second trial is basically the scene from Brave where she follows the will-o'-the-wisp. And so Blind Master is like, follow this light. It will show you your greatest weakness, and you have to get over it. So then he goes on a vision quest. And it's unclear how much of it is a vision, and how much of it is magic, and how much of it is he's on drugs. It's very confusing, but we find out what we already knew, that he wants to find his father's killer. That's not a reveal to anyone, including that character, so I'm not really sure why that's such a big part of the movie. So then, I believe it's after the second trial, he's going to his motorcycle again. Oh my gosh, so many motorcycles in this movie. He goes to his motorcycle again, he's going to go meet with Evil Cousin again. And literally, as he's walking to his motorcycle, because he's been around, and not Jinx has been keeping her eye on him, because she doesn't trust him at all. And as he's walking to his motorcycle, I'm like, they're going to do that thing from Batman and Robin, where he leaves, and then she follows him. Just like when Batgirl left, and then Robin followed her, and she went to do the races. And literally 2 seconds later, he drives his motorcycle out, and then we see not Jinx, and she gets on her motorcycle, and she follows him out. But he knows she's following her, so he's able to ditch her. And he goes and he meets with the guy again. And I don't remember really what happens in the... But basically it's like, I didn't sign up for this, I don't want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, oh, but I'll help you find your dad's killer. And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do this. And it's just flip-flopping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So he goes back, he's going to do the third trial. And they're like, once this one starts, we can't stop it. Okay? Like, make sure you're ready before you go into this. And he is very much aware that he's not ready for this. He's lying to everybody there. All he's thinking about is getting his father's killer. But he's just... And they're like... They told him, like, you have to be pure of heart to pass this challenge. Otherwise, you know, you will die. And he's just like, yeah, I'm good. So they throw him into this pit with 3 magical giant anacondas. And they're about to kill him because he's not pure of heart. But then, suddenly, from nowhere, not Jinx, this person that has never trusted him and has been following him because she knows that he's up to something shady that he's hiding from everybody else, she jumps in to risk her life to save his. And so he escapes using the rope that she came in on, but then she's spared because supposedly she is pure of heart even though she's totally being conflicting right now with what she's supposed to be doing, and she's hiding stuff from the other people, which should make her even more distrustful of Snake Eyes, but for some reason that makes her want him to survive. It makes absolutely no sense why out of nowhere she suddenly cares for him, when up until that point she's just been telling people that he's a bad dude and he shouldn't be here. So it's complete 180 on what she's doing. So then Grandma of the clan, she's just like, not Jinx, that was bad, you're not supposed to interfere. And Snake Eyes, you didn't pass the test, so you should be dead. And Storm Shadow, you brought in this guy who clearly wasn't as good as you thought he was, so I'm going to spank you later too. So like, all of them are in a bad spot. And then I kind of lose track of where it goes. But at some point, they find out that the evil cousin is around. So Snake Eyes is like, I'm going to go take care of this. And Snake Eyes, who's still working for evil cousin, is like, oh, I'll go with you to help you out. And not Jinx goes too, for some reason. It's really weird, because you would think that the head of security would stay at the clan, but she leaves multiple times, whatever. So, they all go, and they find a bunch of evil cousins, man, and Snake Eyes is able to sneak away and go and meet him, and I don't think we see their interaction, but basically he's just like, hey, we're here to kill you, so, don't die, because I still want you to give me the guy that killed my dad, because that's all that I want. And so, the scene ends with Evil Cousin and Storm Shadow on a rooftop fighting, and Not Jinx is about to go over and help Storm Shadow get the kill, so Snake Eyes has to stop that from happening without revealing that he's working for Evil Cousin. So he cuts this cable, which drops a sign which blocks Not Jinx, and I guess distracts Storm Shadow, because then Evil Cousin gets away. And for some reason, they don't realize that he did that, even though the point from which the sign fell is right next to him. So obviously he did that. But they're all just cool with it, and they all go back to the clan base. Now, at some point in all of this, and again, I can't remember all the orders specifically, Snake Eyes has been trying to find where they are keeping this jewel. And he breaks into this one weapons vault, which has motion sensors, so he's caught, but they know that someone was in there. And all signs point to Snake Eyes, and the head of security is like, yeah, it's probably Snake Eyes. So I can't remember if that's before or after she saves him from the snakes. None of it makes any sense. So then later on, at one point when he went to meet with Evil Cousin, I don't remember if it was the first time that he left or the second time that he left, but at one point, Evil Cousin tells him about this jewel. And he's like, it's hidden somewhere. He should know where it is, but he doesn't tell him where it is. He's just like, find it and get it and bring it to me. And then literally the next morning, when he goes and talks to Storm Shadow, unprompted, Storm Shadow's like, by the way, we've got this super cool Gem of the Sun. And it's super powerful and it lets you kill people super easy, but we took a vow to never use it. So our most powerful weapon we don't use, but we protect it so that other people also don't use it. And it's totally contrived that he would mention that unprompted. Snake Eyes says something alluding to power or whatever. No, there's defenses, little lasers up above all the rooftops. Although Snake Eyes show that you can just jump over those, so I don't know what the point of those are, really. But he's like, what are you protecting? And that's all that he says. And then Storm Shadow is like, super secret, super powerful sun gem, blah, blah, blah. And then at another point, he's like, Storm Shadow says that only certain people have access to it. And Snake Eyes says something. I can't even remember what he says, but something about how it's so well protected or whatever. And then, again, not really prompted, kind of half prompted, Snake Eyes is like, well, it's just DNA, so everyone with my DNA can get in. So now Snake Eyes knows how to get in, but he still doesn't really know where it's at. So, again, not sure where the order of all this stuff is. So then at another point, he sets up these bombs to explore, or pulses or whatever, to disable / destroy these laser grids, which puts all the security people on high alert, right? So he sets that off, security goes into high alert, Storm Shadow goes to check on the Sun Gem. And so Snake Eyes is following Storm Shadow to find out where this gem is, and Storm Shadow accesses the little panel and puts his DNA on there, and then it opens up, and then he's like, okay, it's safe. And it's, you know, I guess it's kind of clever, but it's like, you think that someone is at your base trying to steal this thing, so you're going to go to the secret spot where it's hidden and reveal it, whereas they shouldn't know where it is. So, I don't know. I guess Snake Eyes is clever, but also only because Storm Shadow is really stupid. So, now Snake Eyes knows where it is. Storm Shadow is in there with not Jinx, and then they both leave. And then Snake Eyes goes in. And apparently, this room doesn't have any motion sensors, because the only person that comes back is not Jinx. Whereas before, there were other security guards there because motion sensors went off. But not Jinx is just like, I was hoping you wouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. So, but before she gets there, Snake Eyes is able to find the little panel, and he's got Storm Shadow's DNA, because there are blood brothers now. Literally, he cuts his hand open and is like, Storm Shadow, sorry, buddy, I let you down. You're the only brother I've ever had. Keep in mind, they've only known each other for like 2 days. And Storm Shadow's like, yeah, man, we're totally blood brothers. And so then Storm Shadow cuts his hand, and then they're blood brothers. And I thought he was just going to hold up his hand, but no, he takes out a towel and wipes away Storm Shadow's blood. So now he's got Storm Shadow's blood DNA on this napkin. And that's how he gets it. Okay? So he steals the gem, takes it, leaves, and goes to Evil Cousin. And Evil Cousin is there with Baroness. So we've seen Baroness at some point earlier in this movie through like footage, because at some point, I don't remember when or why, we see Scarlet. Storm Shadow and not Jinx know Scarlet, and so they call Scarlet, and she's in this fight scene where, again, not quite a dozen, but 4 or 6 guys are surrounding her with guns, and then she beats them all up, and none of them fire a gun once. It's the third major scene where that happens. And so she tells them about the Baroness and blah, blah, blah. And so Cobra... Oh, I think it's when they go to fight Evil Cousin. They find that some of the shipments of weapons that he's got... This is when Snake Eyes ends the fight without them realizing that he ended the fight, even though that makes no sense. They go into his lair or whatever. His little shop there. And the crates have Cobra marked on them. So they're like, oh my gosh, Cobra's involved with this. They're like, we gotta call someone in the Joe. So then they call Scarlet. So, kind of shoehorned in there, but whatever, it doesn't matter. So, Snake Eyes takes the gem to Evil Cousin, who's standing there with the Baroness and a bunch of other bad guys. And I don't know if this is the first time that he realizes it, or the first time that we're told. But if it's not made clear before, it's made very clear now. Evil Cousin is working for Cobra. He works for the Baroness. I think we learned that earlier, after Snake Eyes left again. Because there's definitely a scene where it's Snake Eyes and Evil Cousin and Baroness. That's before this. So we definitely knew that earlier. So he's coming here, the Baroness is there, and they're like, the guy that killed your dad is in that shed. So he gives them the jewel. Evil Cousin displays its power by killing one of his own henchmen for no reason. And then they're like, alright, we out. Have fun with whatever you're going to do with that guy in that shed. And then they all leave. And so he goes in there. And the guy's like, you know, who are you? I don't know who you are. And Snake Eyes is like, you killed my dad! I'm going to kill you now! And then the guy's like, alright, sucks for me. And then he's just like, tell me why you did it. Why'd you kill my dad? And the guy's like, because Cobra told me to. When Cobra gives you an order, you don't say no. And then Snake Eyes is like, you work for Cobra? And it's this big realization of, I've been helping the organization that gave the order to kill my dad. This is really, really messed up. But then, he doesn't kill the guy, which, like, I get that you just had a big realization, but the guy still killed your dad. Like, still kill him. No, he just leaves him, and he leaves. And so, I'm not going to go beat by beat through the rest of the movie, because it doesn't really matter at this point, but Storm Shadow and not Jinx are mad at Snake Eyes because they found out that he betrayed them. But now Snake Eyes is mad at Evil Cousin because he finds out that the organization that he's working for is the same organization that killed his dad. So there's this weird three-way fight where Cobra is trying to kill Storm Shadow, who's trying to kill Cobra but also trying to kill Snake Eyes. But Snake Eyes, while defending himself from Storm Shadow and not Jinx, is also trying to kill the Cobra guys. And then eventually, not Jinx of all people, is like, he's helping us, we should help him. Even though, again, she has no reason to trust him. She suspected him as a not good person the whole time, and then she was right. Her character makes no sense. Her character should have been two different characters. One that is totally against him the whole time, and then one that for some reason believes in him and gets him out of trouble, even though she knows she probably shouldn't. But for some reason, those are the same character, and there's no reason for both of those things to exist in one character. But whatever. So we get some cool fight scenes where, again, you can't really tell what is going on. And then we end up back at the clan, and Evil Cousin goes there, and he just burns the whole thing down, and most people die. And then there's a big face-off. And I can't remember if at this... Yeah, okay, so at one point, the deal was between him and the Baroness that he would destroy the clan and then give the jewel to Baroness for Cobra to use for whatever they wanted. And then he betrays the Baroness, and he's like, nah, I'm not going to give it to you. But he doesn't kill her? And I can't remember why. Because why would the villain kill the person that they want to kill? So, evil grandmother and the Baroness and Scarlet, who is there, she flew in to help, I guess. They're all being held captive, and Evil Cousin leaves to go do something else. And then so Scarlet and the Baroness, they're like, hey, we hate each other, but let's team up so that we can kill all these guys, and then, we'll fight again another day. Which has been done, but fine, whatever, it works. Scarlet's the only one in this movie who her actions consistently make sense throughout the movie, but it's only because we don't see her very much, so she doesn't have a lot of time to contradict herself. So, those two and Clan Grandmother, of course, beat everyone else there because nobody shoots a gun. They have guns. The Baroness and Scarlet take guns from them, but none of them use their guns to kill these three people. So then we get to the point where it's pretty much just Evil Cousin against Clan Grandmother, Storm Shadow, not Jinx, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, the Baroness, Hardmaster, and Blindmaster. There might be someone else there, I can't remember, but it's 8 people against this Evil Cousin that just has the jewel, and he doesn't kill them with it. So then they throw a smoke grenade and they all go hide, and blah, 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 blah. Eventually, they, set a trap on him, which knocks him down, which makes him lose, or drop the I keep wanting to call it an Infinity Stone, the Sun Gem. And then Storm Shadow goes and picks it up, and it looked like, and maybe this is me, because I'm blind, but it looked like Storm Shadow destroyed him. Blew him up with the Sun Gem. But apparently he only blew up the building around where he was in, because he escaped. But he used the gem, which is big no-no. No, we don't use this big powerful weapon. So then Clan Grandmother is like, bad Storm Shadow, give me the gem. And Storm Shadow's like, ugh, fine, here you go. So, dude escapes, Evil Cousin escapes, and then what's left of this clan has to meet, and Grandmother's like, Storm Shadow, you can't lead the clan anymore. You used the gem. And that's bad. So you're bad boy now. You can't lead the clan. I will be the last leader of this clan. And Storm Shadow gets up and he's like, I've sacrificed my whole life, everything, my whole life for this, blah, blah, blah. Which might have meant more if we had seen any of that. But all we see is that this dude's rich, living in this awesome place with anything he could ever want just because he's next in line. We don't see him ever do anything to earn it or work for it. And this is really the point where the contradiction comes to a head, because all movie, everybody in this clan has been telling Snake Eyes, let go of your ego. But all these guys care about is their own ego. She's like, no, I'm the last leader of the clan. Our clan is so great. This guy shouldn't be here in the clan. And Storm Shadow is like, I deserve this. It's my right. I deserve to lead this clan. Blah, blah, blah. And everyone is just so full of their own ego. It's absolutely so contradictory that they are telling other people to let go of their ego. So Storm Shadow gets mad and he's like, I don't want to play with you guys anymore. And he leaves and he's like, now I'm Storm Shadow. I'm not with this clan anymore. And so then Snake Eyes and not Jinx, I think they leave to try to find... Oh, no, they meet up with Scarlet. And then Scarlet's like, by the way, your dad was a Joe. That's why he died. That's why Cobra killed him, because he was a Joe. So you should be a Joe, or maybe you could be a Joe one day. All this guy has done is betray people left and right. To be fair, she doesn't offer him a job as a Joe. He's just like, are you saying I could be a Joe? And she's like, anything's possible. So it's just really weird. But he's like, there's something I gotta do first. I gotta find Evil Cousin and I gotta fix this thing that I've done. Or maybe he wants to find Storm Shadow. I don't know. Oh, and by the way, before Storm Shadow pouts and runs off, he tells Snake Eyes, he's like, the next time I see you, I'll kill you. And it's just like, why not kill him then? He's right there. Right? Whatever. Fine. Nobody in this movie does anything that makes any sense. So he leaves. Snake Eyes is gone. What's left in this clan, I guess, is staying at this clan to try to rebuild it or whatever. Blah, 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 blah. And then, the last thing that I remember in the movie is Baroness on a plane with Storm Shadow. And it's Storm Shadow's plane. She snuck on. And she's like, hey, I got an offer for you. Come work for Cobra. And it's like, Cobra is the reason that his entire family, his entire clan is destroyed, and why he can't rule it anymore. And he's just like, yeah, I'm in. So, nothing in this movie makes any sense. None of the characters, other than Scarlet, take actions that make sense. Magic is sometimes a thing, but not in a super useful way. And everybody has weapons that they don't use when they should. Also, you can't tell what's happening in any of the fight scenes. So, if you're good to just go and watch a movie where stuff happens, it's not as bad as the old G.I. Joe movies. But if you want to understand what's happening on screen and why characters are making the decisions that they're making, this is not the movie for you. So, I have now ranted for half an hour. I think that's plenty. Those are my thoughts on Snake Eyes, G.I. Joe Origins. Feel free to tell me your thoughts. Those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.